All
Yeah.
right, so do you want to give an intro or do you want me to do it?
Dude, you go right ahead. I believe in you.
All right, fellers, welcome into a podcast type thing because we do not know how to work the good old technology. I'm here with one of my really good friends, Evan. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Evan F 1997. And yeah, dude, we're here to talk about some amazing things that should happen in Destiny 2.
The future of the game, essentially. Things that we would like to see. We got some interesting topics planned. By the way, Evan's links will be in the description. Y'all better go check him out or you're banned. Uh, let's just step right into it, dude. So where do you want to start on the list, dude? Start us off.
I mean, I think the number one thing that we can agree on as a whole, I think anybody who plays the game has always thought about this. I think we could all benefit from using a Halo-like Forge mode. You know?
Yeah.
Taking something like a custom crucible map and really moving it into the next level. I mean, the best modes that we know of from Halo, or the best times we've had in Halo, were in Forge and then brought that into custom games.
Along with like custom mode variants, obviously. But
Yeah.
there definitely could be like a strong chance of competitive D2 being centered around custom maps that are made, because a lot of the maps that are in the game right now are not used due to them being very one-sided and just like unbalanced, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, I think maps could definitely benefit from even players going into the maps that we have right now and moving some of the obstacles around. I think something like Equinox is a good example of like a map that needs to be reworked because it's just so far away. So if you literally took away that middle ground and just made it completely diagonal and a straight path with a couple of high rises here and there, I think people would like that map a lot more. Or you could even shorten the playing field of Equinox to make it a lot more fun. There's a lot of stuff you could do to literally speed up the game. You could make the game a lot more fun. I mean, think about one of the best and most successful games out there is Dota. And that was made from, I think, Warcraft, right? Like Warcraft, somebody went into Warcraft and they just made the mode Dota.
I'm not informed on that topic, so I could not really tell you, to be honest.
Yeah. But
But another thing that came to my head along with the Forge system is like having options of like just like canvases to work with, not even like the crucible maps that we have themselves right now. Like if we had a canvas to work with, like Foundry, for example, or Sandbox from
ooh,
Halo,
yeah.
just having like a big
Oof.
open playing field instead of
Yeah.
having to work around the stuff that we have right now. I'm not saying that we couldn't work around the stuff that we have right now, but it would just, I think a lot more opportunities would rise up if we had a little bit more like openness to work with.
Right, and using something like the assets from different parts of the game even, and going even further into Forge, and this is just something that I don't know if it could be done, but it's something that I would love to see, would be something like a PvE Forge as well, where you could make your own strike essentially. Like, yeah, it'd be shorter because you need to save room, or like you would just be able to make your own kind of areas. I think that's something that Bungie could done it in the past, and they could definitely benefit from having something like that. Just, and maybe even like Forge exclusive things. Like, do you remember in Forge they had the death balls and they had like the change the color of the arena, and they had all these like special things like the golf club, and like you could have a lot of fun with it.
The golf club was, oh god, dude.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, I don't really know what the limitations would be on like a PvE type oriented forge, but I definitely think that there is a lot of opportunity when you give people more of a creative space to work with. There, people can come up with some crazy stuff, man. Like again, going back to the original Halo Forge, you'd see people come up with these crazy tracks where they would have to place one block at a time in the forge. You'd save and quit so it would hover in the air, and they would not quit editing until it was absolutely perfect. So you have these people that are spending hundreds of hours in the forge just to make like one really good map.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, just in my own experience, I remember spending a whole entire like weekend trying to make a ramp work perfectly, and just make it. But that was me like learning the processes, and I mean, we've seen games just completely evolve with it. Like Halo Reach, its forge was much better than Halo 3's, and like Halo 5 had a great forge. I know Bungie's not working with that at all, but like just you could take something and you could give us the most standard forge. You could give us like the Halo 3, even less than Halo 3, and we'd have so many people so much happier to play it.
For sure. I guess that kind of ties in with another thing, like the point below the next one on the list, having more like separated Crucible playlists. Like with all these maps and stuff, you could bring modes back. I don't know really what the licensing is like for Halo stuff, but like modes like Griffball, Oddball, Team Snipers, SWAT, all those are all game modes that people absolutely loved from Halo. Again, they would have to put their own Destiny type theme over top of them, but along with the custom maps type of thing, I think that would create hundreds, thousands, I don't even know how many hours of fun that people could just have messing around instead of, I don't know, like playing Forges or playing Reckoning, when it's just like
Oh
those
boy,
are
Reckoning.
activities that are known to be like kind of repetitive and not the most like rewarding to play, I guess, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I think man, I think just being able to go crazy with a map editor and just go crazy with having your own like just new maps or just being able to create maps is something that people could really benefit from. And just
Mm-hmm.
I think like the Crucible right now, I think we can all agree is a bunch of lost potential, and there's a bunch of like it's just full of potential with just stuff that you could do with Crucible.
Mm-hmm. Again, this could be stuff that like we see more in Destiny 3 if we do get that, but we don't really know what their plan is for Destiny 2 right now, how long they're planning to hold on to that. I personally I think that we're going to be getting D3 in, I'm going to say, September of 2021. That's going to be my
Yeah,
guess.
that's a
But
good, that would be a good place to put it, or even
mhm,
further. I mean, I heard rumors that they started working on Destiny 3 right when Destiny 2 came out.
that
Um,
would be amazing.
so I don't know how true that is, but that was also at the time when everybody kind of ditched Destiny 2 and was like, oh my god, they should just make Destiny 3 and move on from this. And
Yeah, I mean, if you want a good game, you got to give it time, though. If
absolutely.
I know a lot of people, like, obviously everybody wants the good game now, but I'm willing to have as much fun as we possibly can in D2 before we get the killer game that would be D3, if they do decide that that's what they're doing, instead of possibly expanding on D2. But it's hard to tell without them straight up saying something, what their plans are.
Right. I mean, think about all the games in the past that have like just been super successful. They've
Hmm.
usually had a lot of time to play out. Like think about the newest God of War. That game has been in development for like over 10 years. Like that game was thought from start to finish, completely made from the ground up, and it's just a masterpiece. So I think
Yeah,
giving games time to age and make sure that they're as ironed out as possible makes them a way more fun experience.
yeah. I mean, 10 years is pretty excessive, but
Yeah, 10 years is a long time. I don't think Destiny 3 needs 10 years, especially when they have an idea for what they want to do.
yeah. All right. So next thing on the list, theater mode, dude. Something COD like possibly is what I was thinking, at least. Something where you could go back in after a Crucible match and just like get a cool angle on like a snipe that you had, or see you had that one death. You're like, how the hell did I die? And it's, I don't know. There could be a lot of things that you could do with the theater mode itself in terms of like people who do montages, Crucible, whatever. Um,
Man, yeah, even just like just fun skits and stuff. Like think about how much work you have to go through right now just to get into a room where there's nothing else in there that doesn't block trying to show a story. If you watch something like My Name is Bife and watch his lore videos, you notice that there's a lot of effort that goes into trying to make it as cinematic as possible, but there's no theater mode for that to work in.
The one issue I do see with the theater mode, though, especially if it is able to work in PvE, is people finding secrets just by like glitching in for or in theater mode and just like finding stuff that they're not supposed to find.
Yeah, that's definitely something that Bungie would have to iron out, but I think restricting theater mode to something like, I mean, it'd be tough. You're right. I think for something like a raid, you know, somebody could do a day one raid, and you know, imagine Last Wish, they're at Cali, and then all of a sudden they go into theater mode and they go, okay, what's after this? What's after this? What's after this? Let's explore the area to see how many encounters there are. Like that's something that could break the game, but I think maybe they would have to restrict it to only activity completions, or just something like that, so that people couldn't do that. But maybe they would have to just restrict it to Crucible. But I think it'd be cool to see everywhere just having a theater mode in some type of way.
For sure, dude. All right. Want to lead us off on this next one, dude?
Yeah, dude. I mean, we've had this in the past. I think we can all agree it was pretty dope. Hard raids. Raids are pretty stagnant right now, as far as like, I run a lot of Sherpas, you run your raids every single Tuesday, and just, you know, you go in there to try to get cool looking gear with a few enhanced perks and maybe some Taken, Fallen, or Hive armaments. But raids are kind of like, okay, I'll just go through this as fast as possible to get this done. There isn't really a challenge there. The only time we have challenges are on day one raids, like contest mode and just being under leveled. That's the only challenge. So yeah, you could lower your light level, but it also adds, there's no incentive for you to do that. There's no better drops for you to do something harder.
And the biggest thing about traditional old hard raids too is it bumped up like the light cap as well, so you were able to get higher light than you were before. The first thing that comes to mind is like Crota, the big step from normal Crota to hard mode, on how difficult that was for people to complete. Like, you would absolutely get lasered by anything and everything that looked your way if you weren't sitting back near the crystal room.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god.
Some of the first completions, people are just sitting back spamming galleys while their sword bearer goes up there and tries not to die.
Right, yeah. I mean, there was times where, you know, you'd do something like Vault of Glass and you'd be on oracles for a while. So that would create people figuring out ways to beat it. But see, it's that kind of challenge that inspires you to get creative with the way that you beat encounters. Like, contest was great. I mean, you guys definitely had some struggles. My group had some struggles. We didn't even beat the raid on day one because Galron's Deception, like, we weren't loaded out as proper as we could be, but that fight was legitimately hard and it was so much fun the whole time. That was like just
yes, check, dude.
Yeah, exactly. And that was fun though. Like, I felt like I was really in a raid with a boss that could whoop my ass, not a boss that was just a pushover.
Yeah. That's nice to see, dude. Again, incentivizing like working for your loot instead of, I get that over time people learn ways to do things more efficiently, but if you're not working towards something, it doesn't feel as rewarding when you're finally done with it.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And like, think about something like, do you ever play Dark Souls? Do you ever play any of those games? Bloodborne, Dark Souls. No. Okay. Well, in those games, I mean, the bosses are incredibly hard, but they're also giant monsters that are really hard to kill in general. So like, you're just a dude, you know? Like, your guardian, I know he's like praised, or she's praised as this, you know, being that can just whoop some ass, but at the same time, like, you are fighting the hardest things in the game and they feel easier than a phalanx.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't really add up, and it kind of makes it lackluster when you beat it. So in a game like Dark Souls or Bloodborne, you go into a fight and you get your ass kicked, but then eventually over time, when you learn every little component and you get better and better and better, and then you beat it, it feels a lot better, and you remember that, and you can tell people stories of, okay, this only took me so many tries. Somebody will say, well, this took me 2 tries, well, this took me 100 tries, like just stuff like that. So I think making the raids challenging, but also you have to add incentive to that challenge. Like there needs to be something with it that makes people want to do it.
There needs to be actual raid loot worth going for. We went through basically a whole year of levy, and there were like literally 3 guns that people wanted to go for. It was, what was it, Midnight Coups,
Midnight Coup, Zenith, and
Alone as a God.
Yeah, Alone as a God, and maybe like the inaugural address.
I mean,
yeah.
1 year of raids, you have all these weapons, all this armor in it. Like, at least in my opinion, the armor, other than the levy armor, like the basic levy armor, not so good.
No, it's not. But I think like also how many, like, because for me, I love like Prestige Spire. Yeah, it's buggy. Yeah, the modifiers can be annoying because you can get something like having to use, this week was sidearm, scout rifle, and sword that you had to beat the boss with on Prestige. But like, yeah, like that is kind of okay. I'm not a fan of having to curate my loadout to what the game wants. But at least there's a challenge in Prestige Spire, Prestige Levy, and Prestige Eater that isn't in the new raids. Like, I can do Crown of Sorrow way faster than I can do Prestige Spire, Eater, or Levy. And I think that's a problem because we are 400 and something light levels higher than that.
And that's the thing, dude. Like, the artificial difficulty that, like, I respect the effort to try something different, but that artificial difficulty with like the curated loadouts and whatever just absolutely didn't work. And I hope that we do not see that again.
I hope we just see contest modifier. I mean, I think there was nothing wrong with that contest. What dropped our light level 20 below what the encounter was. I think like maybe it's a little harsh for some people, and I definitely can see where it would be harsh, but I think the best players deserve to have the best loot. I think that's just what Bungie has always made Destiny great for. Like, Destiny has always been amazing when the best players outshine and they have the best loot.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I don't know, man. And okay, so here's the other thing I can't get this out of my mind. Like, traditional hard mode raids, dude, it like, again, it was that step up, you get the extra loot, but it's like it's also another time to bring the community together for another world's first race. There's so much hype around those world's first races. One, because people want to see you struggle. 2, they want to see you beat the new content, and
3, they want to learn how to beat the new content themselves by watching other people. Like, what's always really cool, because I run a lot of raid Sherpas, is seeing how many people for Crown of Sorrow run Outbreak Perfected thinking that it's the best weapon because they saw Be Bold get it first, right? Like, they saw everybody using Outbreak and they go, okay, well, Outbreak must be the best for this boss. Well, how do we learn that? Just because we watched the world's first thing go down. But it's like, that's not even the best thing, but it's just cool because people come together to learn from those things. Like, the whole community comes together, and it's also this huge event that drives so many people to want to get the game.
Yeah. And speaking of that, dude, going towards the free-to-play direction, I know this isn't on the list, but I cannot wait to see how poppin' this game is.
Oh, it's gonna be huge, dude. Get ready. It's gonna be insane.
There should be. I'm hoping there's enough content to hook those people in for the next year, dude, and see how much the community will grow from now until like this time next year. It'll be wild. Because what is it currently? Is it like, I think it's 500,000 to 1 million?
No, it's a million daily players right now. They got back to 1 million, and the Destiny Reddit just hit 1 million people again, like after going down to 200,000 last year. So like, it's coming back full speed and more, because now people are really buying into the idea that Bungie is done with Activision. They're on their own. This is their last shot for a lot of people. So this is the make it or break it time for Bungie. And I'm excited, dude, because I think so many people are gonna get it. Like, dude, I have so many college friends that just don't really buy games because they can't, so they only play Apex and Fortnite because they're free.
Yeah.
Now imagine, Destiny's gonna be free. You're gonna be able to do a lot of the content for free. People are gonna want to buy in.
I know it is free to play, but you're locked behind what is it? Up until War Minds of content, I
You're
think.
no, you can go and explore all of the areas, even the moon. You just
Yeah,
can't do like you can do public events, you can do patrols, you can do all that, but you just
the
can't
basic stuff.
do yeah, you just can't do like strikes and raids for those new contents, but you can do year one strikes and raids. You can even play Crucible, to my knowledge, maybe not on the new maps, but you can play Crucible
Yeah,
with just anybody. So you have access to a lot of content for free.
and I think that'll hook a lot of people in when
Oh,
they're.
definitely.
Dude, everybody loves the raids, man. The raids are
I
phenomenal.
Man, I cannot even tell you how many people came back to this game and go, okay, I've never done a raid because I don't have anybody to play with, but you know, like I've come and just like helped, like done a raid Sherpa with you, and I love raids. Like they're like, I'm addicted to this game now. I see what the charm is. It's like, yeah, Bungie pretty much works from the inside out. They work on raids first and they work their way out. Like raids are their core. So
Raids are
that's
the
why
core.
hard mode raids need to come back.
Hard mode raids, loot that's actually worth it to come from the raids, which is it goes along with armor too. I know they're reworking the armor system, so I'm intrigued to see how that'll work. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's looking pretty good, but
Oh, yeah, did you see the min-maxing on finishing moves even? I mean, there's min-maxing everywhere.
I did not see that on the finishing moves. I
Yeah, they're
seen
going to so Eververse is this is not on the sheet, but Eververse is going to sell different finishing moves. So like you can do, you know, there's like the punches that you saw in the Shadowkeep trailer. Well, Eververse will be selling like different animations, and you can use them on people in Crucible, you can use it on bosses, and there's min-maxing for it, so your finishing moves can do a lot of damage, can apply different burns, all that kind of stuff.
dude, Eververse is gonna be popping, dude. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Imagine roundhouse kicking someone in the face.
Oh, you already know, dude. Oh man.
Yeah. It's going to be so cool.
Where are we at on the list?
We are on
next one.
Yeah.
Dude. This is the biggest
Yeah.
one.
Lead this one off, dude. You got it.
The dedicated servers, dude. I know I don't even know where to begin on this. So many like connection issues in the game that I've experienced personally. There are a lot of issues with like DDoSing and other stuff, and dedicated servers would be a huge improvement and would fix a lot of issues. Just that's a basic way to put it. Like
Yeah. That
one
is
sentence, I guess.
I mean, number one, think about this for a second. Just everybody think about how much fixing the Eververse, goddamn. Think about how much fixing the servers would benefit the game. Like right now, I have to buy a VPN because I'm scared that if I play comp and I go higher up, people are gonna boot me out of the game.
Yep.
I
I
hate being shot through walls because somebody on their screen saw me not behind a wall. I hate that there is almost no competitive scene or no just fun Crucible where it's like completely, if you feel like the game's got your back, you feel like, okay, I died because it's my fault, not because the game tricked me into this. Like there's so many times where I just die and I'm just like, oh my god, I was behind a wall, or oh my god, that person is lagging. And Destiny is the only game that I have ever played that benefits somebody for having a worse connection than me.
Dude.
It's frustrating.
That pretty much sums it up entirely, honestly.
Yeah, we need dedicated servers, man. I mean, it would just help so much. Like, is it feasible now that they're a solo company? Well, they just got a fat investment from Google and from I believe a Chinese developer. So they got a lot of money to work with. Now, maintaining dedicated servers is a lot of work, but I think it could be done, and I think it should be done in Destiny 3.
Yeah. I mean, at the latest, dude.
At the latest, yeah. I think it should be done ASAP.
All right.
Dude,
we got
I
a few
mean,
things left, dude.
yeah. I mean, I think we can all agree here that strikes, they're not really that fun. What do we got going on in strikes? I mean, you just kind of You just speed through them as fast as possible to get them over with at this point, and to get your daily and weekly rewards.
Yep. There's really no replayability value other than if you're farming Vanguard tokens for like a service revolver or something.
Yeah.
Every gun you want. But...
Or like a catalyst, right? But
True.
there's not really a lot going on. Right, and the catalysts in general mostly aren't very good, but that's something we can get into a little bit later. I mean, strikes right now are just like, they had a system that worked really well in Destiny 1 where strikes had a chance to drop a strike exclusive gear and strike exclusive weapons, and they all looked really cool. The weapons, some of them were better than others, but you had some that were some of the best weapons in the game. Like a Mago Loop comes to mind, and Grasp of Malik comes to mind.
Yeah.
The gauntlets from the Abomination heist comes to mind. The Shield Brothers gauntlets, like those looked really cool.
You actually wanted to farm for them until you got a good roll.
Exactly, because it looked really cool and you could really spec out your guy, and honestly, it was really a lot of fun to farm strikes. I remember choosing strikes over everything for a long time. Just when I was bored, I would just throw on a strike because it was a lot of fun. And we don't really have that. Like we have strikes that are fun, but it'd be a lot better if there was a good reward with it. The only weapon from strikes that really gets anybody excited is the Mindbender's Ambition from Hollowed Layer, but then you have to play the Hollowed Layer. And I'm sorry.
Dude. I'm
not trying to play the Hollowed Layer, dude.
Dude, I don't understand. They've gone through fixing that strike so many times, and it's pushing people away from farming their loot. I don't get it. It actually genuinely frustrates me.
Yeah, and not to mention that you can only get the weapons or the strike exclusives from the Nightfall. You can't even get them in regular strikes.
Yep.
Like, I can't go in.
The skeleton key system was 100 times better.
It was. You could get skeleton keys from regular strikes, and you could get the drops from regular strikes, but you had a guaranteed thing from a Nightfall, which was the skeleton key. Like, you had a guaranteed strike exclusive every single week on all your characters. And Nightfalls right now are really boring. This isn't necessarily on the list, but it does involve strikes. Nightfall scorecards are not really fun because I just throw on the same exact modifiers every single week, and I get my 100k and I get my loot that isn't really worth getting because the gear isn't that good. You can't get enhanced perks on the Nightfall gear. You can't get strike. There's not really a good strike exclusive unless you're trying to fill out something like Cursebreaker or Wayfarer. There's not really anything there, so strikes are just kind of a dead end unless you're going for catalysts or if you're going for speedruns.
Going back to that 100k thing, I think that one simple thing that could really, really make people more incentivized to get like actual high scores and stuff is leaderboards.
Yeah.
Like, why would you go over 100k if you don't need to? It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
Some people do it for fun, and I'm not dissing that or whatever, but there needs to be, if you're going to incorporate something into the system like high scores, there needs to be some sort of competitiveness to that for the people that are very competitive or just want something to do.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing to me that they figured out a system that works so well that we all agreed was a great system, and they completely ditched that system. It's a little mind-blowing in that way. So I really think we can agree. I think we can all agree that strikes need improvement because they could be so much better than they are right now, and we'll just have to hope that in Shadowkeep we get a lot of stuff that improves them.
Well, we'll get at least a couple strikes, but the one thing I'm worried about is that we'll go another year without getting any strikes after that again. That's the one thing that concerns me.
Yeah. That is definitely, because a year that was focused on PvE was really just to add something like the Forges and to add something like Reckoning, but Reckoning is boring. Like, oh my god, it's a snooze fest. And Forges, I refuse to do them now that I finished Blacksmith because it's just not fun. It's just not fun at all. Yeah, it's fast, but it's not fun. and you know what you're gonna get, which is a good system. Reckoning they took that away for God knows what reason, but it's not in a good place as far as like strikes, because strikes we could add a strike or two every single season to really spice it up. Like, it's weird because Warmind added strikes, and so did Curse of Osiris.
Yeah.
And those strikes are actually pretty good. Like, I actually really like Warmind strikes. I really like Curse of Osiris' strikes, even though I hate that I can't use a sparrow on that planet.
Yep.
But it's pretty good. And I mean, I think tying into that, drop the Chuck E. Cheese system. So like,
oh dude, get that shit out now.
Yeah. Like,
dude, I know we were talking about this earlier, but going from the token system, it's so simple and so lame, dude. Like,
yeah,
compared to Destiny 1 where you had the reputation, there were different ways you could get reputation by turning in materials, etc.
bounties.
Like that stuff doesn't matter, but like the amount of stuff that you could get from your factions, like your shaders that people grinded hundreds of levels for, weapons that are actually worth using from the faction and don't just sit in the vault and collect dust. And dude, you could go on the list, man. Like,
I mean,
the Chuck E. Cheese system is just
Chuck E. Cheese system's bad.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work at all. There's a reason why, like he said, they removed it from the raids. There's a reason why it's not there for year 2 raids. It's because it just wasn't fun. And on top of that, like, I think taking that away would incentivize players to want to do the Vanguard bounties. The only time I have ever done Vanguard bounties is just so I could get a Werner 99 bounty turned in when I needed the powerful drops. That's the only reason I ever did Vanguard bounties. And I think just having a reputation system where if I get to something like level 25, similar to how Dead Orbit, New Monarchy, Future War Cult did it, where you got a mark, bond, or cloak that was exotic that you actually had to do a little mission for, that was so cool. Like, that was a cool and welcome surprise for getting to level, I think it was 25, might have been 50, but it was really fun and rewarded you for going that far with it. Because getting the shaders was really cool, but also having something that was worth grinding for doing each of those things was awesome. And yes, we have pinnacles, but pinnacles are super easy to get. Most of them are super easy to get.
There are good and bads about the pinnacles, but it just, like, it doesn't really compare, dude. Like, there's so many things that they've stripped away from Destiny 1 and tried to redo in Destiny 2 to try and improve it. I respect the effort again.
Yeah.
But like, we at some point they got to realize a lot of this stuff isn't working. Like, it's not incentivizing people to play more, and like, I don't know, it just, as a whole, like, the replayability value of a lot of the PvE content, at least, is just, it's not there.
Yeah, and I mean, just so people know, we're not hating on the game at all. We're obviously looking for ways to improve it. We're just giving constructive feedback, because I think that there's a lot of stuff that, like you said, it's great that they tried to improve a lot of these systems, but you know, there's an old saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Everything was working just fine with the way that the factions worked and the way that strikes worked. So I don't know, man, just the Chuck E. Cheese system is really, really bad, and it's not fun at all.
All right, dude. So next on the list, this is one of my biggest things, and okay, how do I want to start this off, dude? So I'm just gonna read what's on the list.
Yeah,
dude.
go for it.
Drop the new light system and start over, but obviously you're gonna want to keep your exotic stuff.
Yeah.
The whole light system that we have right now, it is continually working. I think people are rumoring that Shadowkeep is supposed to go up to like 900 power or whatever. Not really sure how the soft cap and hard caps are going to work, but the way it's working right now is the drops that we've gotten since Forsaken are just continually piling up. So there are more and more ways every DLC to get powerful drops. So when a DLC does release, you are able to get to the new light cap. At least for me, it's usually within a week.
Yeah.
So went from 700 to 750 this season in a matter of a week, and it's like, I think that's a big excuse me. big chunk of content that just goes right down the drain without any thought. Like the Destiny 1 system, it did have some flaws here and there because you have a lot of people, Forever 29 squad, who could you're missing one piece, and it prevents you from getting to that max light cap. But the one thing I really did like about that system though is um in order to upgrade your light, specifically on the raid gear, you were required to play the end game content to get to the end game level that you needed to play the end game.
Yep. And I think,
Legendary shards, dude, upgrading the armor.
yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, the new light system, it was great when Forsaken first dropped. Like, I will say, it was awesome when Forsaken first dropped, because that grind to, what was it, 600? That grind to 600 was so much fun, because you started at 380 or 400. I think most people started at 400 if you played year one.
Yeah.
But that grind up was so much fun, leveling up to level 50 and then having, literally getting to 500 to 600, thinking that, oh my god, I'm at 500, I'm so powerful now. And then everything is still like, you go into areas like lost sectors and enemies are still immune. You're like, oh no, this is going to be a grind. And like, you're getting one power increase. It really kept me addicted to getting the power grind. But I think going on to this, like adding on to this, there's not really a lot of modes that reward us for being at that max power either. There is a few, like I think the only one right now that stands out to me for being at max power, there's two activities. One is Iron Banner, because you can whoop on some people who are lower power level, so that's actually a good feeling. I like being able to do that. Yeah. But also, Heroic Menagerie is the only one for PvE that rewards you for being max level. Now keep in mind, Heroic Menagerie, and this ties back to the raids, so I don't want to get too far out here, but Heroic Menagerie is harder than the raids, and it's like not even close.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't know, part of me really likes it, but again, I want raids to be the end game. I feel like that's what they were trying to center the raids towards when they created them, but it's like it's not in that spot right now, because once you, again, like you said, once you're over light level, you're smoking shit.
You're just absolutely destroying everything in your path. And I get that people don't have years and years of time. Not everybody's a content creator that can just spend time playing the game all the time, but also this game is meant to be an end game type of game. Like, you are meant to be trying to min-max your power. That's how this game has been set up. It's an RPG. It's a very light RPG. It's getting into it more with Shadowkeep, but I think just the leveling system right now needs to go, because we've all figured it out. We figured out that you can turn in your exotic quests at the beginning of every single season and gain a 7 to 10 power increase.
Okay. I don't know if it's that excessive.
Well, no, not like, I'm sorry, it's like for that slot, 7 to 10, like for that slot.
For sure.
And like Prime Ingrams, that's another example of something that you can just boost your way through with Prime Ingrams. So you can just go ham with all this stuff. And
that brings up, dude, the Prime Engrams, dude. I get the point to it's definitely there to help people who, like you said, don't have 18 hours a day to play or whatever.
Right.
But the way that it's set up right now, it's like if you don't play the game for a few days, you come back, you kill 3 things, and it drops almost immediately. I swear. Test it.
Yeah, and you do one strike, boom, you got yourself a Prime Engram. One game of Gambit, maybe even 2. Like, you get them so often. It's
a free 4, I think it's like 4 to 8.
For that slot, yeah.
Yeah, for that slot.
Yep.
Above your light level. And it would be nice to see those more towards the end of the season to get people hyped for the next one so they could catch up. But at the beginning of the season, I don't really think they belong there, because it ruins a lot of the light level grind, especially when, like I said, you can sit there for days and you can stack them up and then they just drop like hotcakes, because it's per character too. It's not account wide.
I mean, I'm at the point on my characters just because there's not a lot left to grind for in this part at this point in the season. I'm at the point though on my characters where I enjoy opening up exotic engrams instead of just seeing them drop or like picking them up and like actually, you know, just opening them up right by standing on them. So I will let 10 prime engrams stack in my inventory just so I can literally pick that up and it goes to the postmaster and then I can decrypt it at Rahul or whatever. That's my thing. It's weird, but it's like there's so many. It really puts some emphasis on the point. There's so many prime engrams that drop on the ground that I can stack them up to 10 in my inventory really easily.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess I will talk about our final one that we have on the list.
All right,
one
it,
that we can all agree. Gambit. Oh boy, Gambit, dude. When Gambit first was announced, I was so hyped. I was like, okay, they're bridging the gap between PvE, PvP. Everybody who went to the summit, when they revealed Gambit after a while, they were allowed to talk about it. They were like, dude, this is such a cool mode. We played it for a solid like 30 minutes and it was so much fun. And then I kind of sat there and was like, huh, you guys played this for 30 minutes and it was amazing. Yeah, I mean, if I played something for 30 minutes and it's brand new, it's going to be amazing. But how does it last over time? I think Gambit right now, regular Gambit, is in a much better spot than Gambit Prime. And I have a whole video on my channel where I just kind of outline what's wrong with Gambit Prime. But essentially, there are no systems that make Gambit Prime fun. Like, Gambit Prime is just a snooze fest. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't really know what to say. I'm definitely very strongly opinionated on Gambit. I do tend to get a little bit toxic when I talk about it, if I'm being perfectly honest. But
yeah, I mean, what is your number one thing that comes to mind with Gambit that just makes it like, oh my god, this is so boring?
Fucking heavy ammo, dude.
Yeah.
The amount of what I like to call it is skill ammo that you can get through armaments and just the amount that spawns on the wall that you can pick up is like, it's actually insane. And when you invade, it's really hard to gunfight a guy that's got an overshield and either a truth or a light machine gun all the time, and he keeps coming in like every 15-20 seconds.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like.
Oh, and Gambit Prime rewards you for absolutely slaughtering the other team. Like, there is no, I get it that they want to make it so it's more competitive, so that there's like, okay, if I'm winning, I'm really winning. But oh my god, I should not be able to invade and then immediately be able to invade again and then keep invading, so that we're literally up and we have our prime evil and the other team has 0 motes. And that happens a lot with Gambit Prime.
There's a lot of ways they could go about like fixing it or changing it up, whatever. But like, I don't know, the way it is right now, it is not oriented to be a competitive game mode.
No.
Like you said, and it's like, I don't know. It can be fun to play sometimes. Obviously, I'm going to go for like all the pinnacle weapons each season, but like.
Yep. And I'll give everybody the TLDR in the video that I made about Gambit Prime, but essentially it's that there's no systems in place that make it fun to play. It's just kind of there, and the fact that people can just kind of access it who are just playing the game, just like some of my friends that have never played Destiny 2 can hop on Destiny 2 and play Gambit Prime. That shouldn't be a thing. If they want to make it an end game activity, that shouldn't be a thing. I shouldn't have friends that can go into Gambit Prime and get rolled just with blue weapons. Like, that shouldn't be a thing. And there's no good reward system. It's just kind of like, okay, you're gonna get a curated drop if you do this thing. And the title for Reckoner, I mean, don't even get me started on how that literally rewards you for being a selfish player. That whole title is about being selfish in Gambit Prime. It makes no sense. That mode is just a mess, and Gambit as a whole is kind of a mess right now. There's a lot of ways you could fix it, but it's up to Bungie to fix it ultimately.
For sure, dude. I mean, is there anything else you got, dude? Anything not on the list that you can think of? I know we definitely added some stuff in there as we went along.
Yeah, I mean, they've already talked about addressing supers and super mods and roaming supers and all that kind of stuff in Crucible, but I mean, I think just a quick one to hit on is just the fact that comp right now is pretty much dead at the highest level because there's nothing to reward players at the highest level. Not Forgotten was there before, and now it's just kind of gone by the wayside.
It's actually forgotten.
Yeah. Nice.
All right, bad joke. I'm out. I mean, yeah, man, that's definitely a good list that we got going, at least for this one. That's a
Yeah.
lot of the main stuff that I've been thinking about, at least for the past couple weeks. It's good
Same.
to vent and talk about it. Good combos. By the way, if you guys, I want to know if you guys got any like topics, any rebuttals, any disagreements. Let us know down in the comments below. We obviously we both feel really strongly about wanting to improve the game and things that we think are good and bad, but we'd like to hear what you guys think. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much else to say besides thank you for listening to us rant. I hope you enjoyed. Evan, you got anything to say, dude?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say go check out my man's on Twitch. He's right now doing a berry and bow grind to get to 100k so that he can get a collector's edition of the game. So go check out my man Sweat on Twitch. Absolutely.
Like I said, boys, go show Evan some love. His links will be down in the description too. Again, thank you so much for listening to us, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. If there is a next one, we'll think up a list.
Yeah, for sure. All right, have a good one, guys. Also, side note, we should add sparrow flying to Destiny too. Bring it back!